Back about 5 months ago, I reviewed a horror game called Super Normal. You can go check out the video if you want.
I wouldn't recommend it.
But to make a long story short, it was hilariously bad. Gameplay had as much depth as the gene pool in Alabama, the story felt like something M. Night Shyamalan would write after taking 50 grams of Fent, and the whole thing was about as scary as a bowl of macaroni salad. Actually, I don't know. Macaroni salad is one of those white people food concoctions that I personally consider an affront to God. It wasn't the absolute worst thing I've played, but I think I'd rather get a colonoscopy from Freddy Krueger than ever play it again. Seriously, I've played Roblox games that were more terrifying than that game was. It was so forgettable that I, in fact, forgot about its existence. And I was utterly shocked to discover that the developer had actually made a sequel. Now, my initial thought when seeing this was, hell no. But, you know, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know, sometimes we are just off our game and we put out a clunker or two.
Or, in your case, a whole channel of clunkers.
There was also this part of me that thought maybe the developer had learned from their prior mistakes and looked back and reflected on what it took to actually make an enthralling and terrifying horror game, and then well, maybe you know where this is going. No, they didn't. The game blows. Supernatural, the sequel to the video game equivalent of Ambien, is a horror game and the second title released by Hattori Day Productions. While it is a follow-up to Super Normal, it doesn't rely on you knowing any of the previous plot details, but it does share a lot of the same themes and mechanics. As with the first game, you once again take the role of Detective Wyatt, who has been hired by the concerned couple, Colton and Kaylee, to find their missing maid, Susan Crawler. Well, right from the get-go, I can tell we're dealing with something supernatural because this dude is standing exactly like a monster that's wearing a human skin suit. Just look at the arms. What kind of person keeps their arms bent like this?
In all fairness, you're not a good example of a normal human.
All of the people in this game fall right smack dab in the middle of the uncanny valley. They're like if the humans from the Polar Express had a nightmare baby with your sleep paralysis demon. Now, I know a lot of you are here to just clown on a bad game, but I have to give credit where credit's due. The game can be genuinely terrifying, and the developer did a very good job of designing a truly scary ghost. Obviously, I'm not the bravest person in the world, but there were multiple moments when I was genuinely terrified. The ghost has an extremely unique and unsettling design that is worlds beyond the ghost from Super Normal. Even the animations are enough to send a shiver down my spine, though they can look a little janky at times. Hey, sometimes I do that when I'm walking and my boys get stuck to my inner thigh. But sadly, with how legitimately terrifying Supernatural can be, the rest of the game falls as flat as Hank Hill's ass. Easily one of the worst parts of Super Normal was the extremely tedious gameplay, and unfortunately, that same gameplay was translated one-to-one right into Supernatural. Once again, you'll be spending 95% of your time randomly walking around an empty house looking for anything at all that could be considered a clue, which basically means you're just going to keep randomly looking at everything until the interact icon pops up. Thank God the developer actually decided to add a flashlight this time around so you're not blindly bumbling around like an idiot. Oh, do we really need the flashing? I mean, I've always heard that the best video game flashlights are the ones that give people seizures. This mindless seek and find would be a little less painful if these clues were actually substantial, but almost every single one is something completely unrelated to the actual case. At least in the first game, some of them were pretty obvious, like blood smears. You know, something that would actually be in a crime scene. But this time around, it's mostly just mundane crap like dirty dishes or overdue bills. The only thing I've learned is that these people are irresponsible slobs. I mean, just look at how many Funko Pops they have lying around. No wonder they can't afford to pay their bills. God, can you imagine wasting all of your money on bug-eyed pieces of plastic? This Even things that feel like they would be substantial clues go completely wasted because they add nothing meaningful to the mystery at large. Or they set up potentially interesting subplots that just don't amount to anything. A good example of this is in the laundry room. You can find some of those stereotypical creepy child drawings, and in the nursery, you can find weird symbols drawn on the baby's mobile. Now, I'm not the sharpest peanut in the turd here, but I would put 2 and 2 together and deduce that there's something sussy going on with this kid of theirs. Even the detective makes a remark about his clients hiding information about a child they never told him about. But literally none of this impacts the story in any way, shape, or form. The only time you ever learn any important story details is when the game literally spells it out for you in a massive wall of text. Well, that's too bad for them because I don't know how to read. With how worthless all of these clues are, it makes the task of looking for them, and then by extension, the entire game itself, feel like an exceptional waste of time.
Sounds a lot like your videos.
As a way to mix up the exciting fun of blindly looking for clues, the game also lets you talk directly to the ghost just like you could in the first game. In Super Normal, talking to the ghost did almost nothing, and it was obviously just a way for the developer to ride some hype off of other, better games like Phasmophobia. But somehow in this game, the whole system was just made completely worse. The game sets it up like you're supposed to be able to communicate with the ghost and have it help you in some way. But the first time I tried to talk to it, it just told me to shut up. And the second time I tried to talk, the ghost just straight up killed me. This is also the only time I died in the game, by the way. Even though the ghost jump scared me countless times, the only time it actually did anything was when I tried to ask for help. See, this is why I don't talk to people. Definitely not because I have the social graces of a walnut. There's also a couple moments in the game where you engage in some light puzzle solving. And now I'm using the term puzzle solving here very loosely because they're all about as complex as those spot the difference puzzle magazines you'd find in the waiting room at your dentist.
Then they should be easy for someone as smooth-brained as you.
Right from the beginning, every single puzzle lays out the solution right in front of your face. And the only real puzzle solving is, you guessed it, wandering around the house and trying to find random shit. First you look for clues. Then you have to track down all 12 of the rip-off Funkos to piece together a computer login. Then you have to look for all the pieces of a torn-up photo. And lastly, you have to track down 14, that's right, I said 14 fuses to repair the fuse box when the power goes out. I got 4 Where's Waldo books behind me. If I wanted to spend the next 2 hours just looking for stuff, I would read those instead of playing this game. At least then I wouldn't be crying and pissing and shitting myself out of fear. It really feels like the developer knew they had no game here at all and just decided to make the game tedious and long enough so it would stretch past Steam's 2-hour refund window. Well, joke's on them, because I beat it in an hour and a half. It's the exact same problem Super Normal had. There's just no game to be had here. It's a giant nothing burger. Searching for clues is just a way to lead you into random jump scares. And after a while, even the jump scares, though they can be terrifying at first, quickly start to lose their charm. I was already bored to tears within the first 30 minutes of this game, and with how often the jump scares happen, they almost immediately lose their impact. There's no threat or incentive to avoid the ghost because it doesn't even kill or hinder you in any way when it scares you. Well, other than the irreversible damage it does to your ears. And again, the only time I ever died was when I tried to talk to the ghost, so it made me completely ignore that mechanic. One of like only 2 things you actually do in this game. You know what? I'm sick of this game. I'm just gonna chill here and browse Giggle for a little bit. Huh, let's see how in-depth this search engine is. Wow, they even got me on here. I think I might just go ahead and smack the old subscribe button. And while we're here, you should hit it too. I do reviews on all kinds of stinky games and occasionally a good one here or there, so if that's your kind of thing, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the fun.
Shameless plug over.
While the rest of the game is a symphony of farts, the cherry on top of this fecal sundae is the game's completely nonsensical story. Supernormal's story was pretty bad, but at least it almost made sense in a garbage Tumblr fanfiction kind of way. But from beginning to end, no part of Supernatural's story comes together in any way. As we've said, the story revolves around you looking for Susan Crawler, a missing elderly woman. But little do you know, she's the ghost that's been hunting you the whole time. In fact, it's revealed later in the game that she died 3 years ago by committing suicide. So if she's been gone for all these years, who the hell have Colton and Kaylee been talking to? It's one of the most overused horror tropes ever that it's essentially more of a joke than a trope at this point. But if that wasn't bad enough, you eventually learn the real truth, that Susan and the rest of her family perished in a house fire caused by the town's sheriff after she refused his romantic advances. And the whole suicide story was just a big fat lie. What? Okay, so for this, let's just forget that she's been just dead for 3 years and they've been talking and interacting with a ghost for all this time. So let's say the sheriff actually killed her in a house fire. How did they find her body hanging from a tree just all that time later? How? What? Huh? Like, how does that work? It's just, I cannot even begin to wrap my head around this.
Is there really much you can wrap your head around?
But the best part of it all is when the sheriff actually breaks into the house to hunt you down before you reveal his secret. And the game has this hilarious tonal shift from milquetoast horror to an action sequence that's about as entertaining as watching paint dry. The moment he pulled out the gun, I seriously lost it. It was so abrupt and out of place, it felt like I was playing a parody. And the cheesy ass one-liner he spits out is just so perfectly edgy.
Okay, this fucking time, I won't let anyone escape.
Do I even need to mention how god-awful this gunfight was? Do I? I mean, this whole game feels like it was programmed by a cat walking across the keyboard. Of course it was awful. You can't even reload your gun. No, you have to fully empty the magazine every time. The whole fight is just a solid minute of peeking around corners and trading shots back and forth. The Cracker Barrel Peg game has more strategy than this. I shot so many holes through this dude, he looked like a pizza before he finally hit the ground. Yeah, just collapse right through the stairs. No, ragdolls? Pfft, no, those are too hard to program. We don't need them anyway. So yeah, Supernatural absolutely sucks. Instead of taking what didn't work in the first game and improving on that, the game takes all of the worst parts of its predecessor and cranks up the stinkiness to an 11, while also going the extra mile and adding its own special flavor of ass to the entire game. And to be frank, none of this is really surprising because the developer of this game, Artur Wachowski, has a track record for making terrible games. Most notably, the roaring dumpster fire known as Stray Souls, in addition to allegedly just being a straight up terrible person. I got into more of that in my previous video, so again, if you want more details on that and to see how horrible the first game was, the link is in the description below. You know, all this talk about ghosts has got me a little on edge, especially because I've been finding spooky dookies all around the place. Like right there! See, like this, I didn't do this, this was the poop ghost.
No, that was you. You played Fortnite until 3 in the morning, and in your exhausted delirium dropped that on your sheets before passing out on the floor.
Oh. Well. Yep, this is mine. Yep. Well, I guess, Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and let me know what you thought of the video down in the comments below. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.